Critical moments in history. Odaenathus, savior of the East. The Roman Empire of the 3rd century had entered a dramatic period of crisis. The reign of the good emperors had passed, replaced now by a long line of claimants battling for the throne. As civil war pulled Roman attention away from its borders, external threats were amplified. In the east, this coincided with the rise of a new power, the Sassanids, who now spotted an opportunity to reclaim the lands once held by the old kings of Persia. Yet at this critical junction in Rome's history, a savior would rise and come to the defense of a collapsing empire. He was Odaenathus, the Ras of Palmyra. Crisis of the 3rd century. The question of imperial succession had always haunted the empire and its stability. Early on, heirs were chosen by their predecessors, or could trace their lineage through a ruling family. These credentials helped successors derive legitimacy and allowed for relatively peaceful transfers of power. However, 200 years after the death of Rome's first emperor, the death of Rome's 26th emperor would spark a crisis. In 235 AD, the legions of the Rhine murdered Alexander Severus, ending the Severan dynasty and throwing open the doors to the throne room. Into this vacuum of power would charge the ambitious men of the empire and their legions. Frequent civil wars followed, which saw over 60 men claim imperial power in just 50 years. This calamitous infighting severely weakened the Romans and had major impacts on the economy, politics, and military of the empire. Smelling blood in the water, their enemies closed in. The Eastern Threat. The Eastern Mediterranean had originally been annexed and organized by Pompey the Great following his conquest in the 60s BC. Over time, the Romans would exert increasing control, either directly governing regions or establishing buffer kingdoms. Though the East was prone to uprisings and incursions, it proved to be an incredibly wealthy territory that the emperors were always prepared to defend. In addition to garrisoning large walled cities in the area, the numerous legions stationed in the East also built a series of fortifications across the frontier. The distribution of troops, especially after the Flavian period, was set up for large-scale warfare, and major campaigns were launched roughly every 50 years. In the long series of border wars between Rome and the neighboring Parthians, it appears that more often than not, it was the Romans who took the role as the aggressors. By the time of the 3rd century crisis, the balance of power began to tip the other way. Rome's internal weaknesses crippled its ability to project strength beyond the frontiers, endangering its border provinces. At the same time, the Parthians were replaced by the more aggressive Sassanids. This new Persian dynasty had aspirations of reclaiming the western territories of the Achaemenid Empire. Militarily, they were more competent at besieging fortifications and were able to make significant inroads into Roman territory. King Shapur I invaded Mesopotamia in 243, defeating and killing Emperor Gordian III before securing a highly advantageous peace treaty with his replacement, Emperor Philip the Arab. In 253, Shapur once again returned. He won victories at Barbalissos and Antioch before being engaged by Emperor Valerian and the main Roman army in 259. Yet at the Battle of Edessa, the legions were defeated, and for the first time in history, a Roman emperor was taken prisoner. In the aftermath of this catastrophe, things only got worse. As Shapur pushed his campaign into Cilicia and Cappadocia, his bloody invasion resulted in the sack of over 30 cities. Meanwhile, Valerian's son Gallienus ascended to the throne in the west, only to be undermined by 2 eastern usurpers, the brothers Macrianus and Quietus. The East was disintegrating. So I hope you appreciated this short-form look into Invicta content. Now if you want to see our full-length documentaries, you can head on over to the main channel, and either way, I'll see you in the next one.